Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. This week we're going to look at Chainer, Dementia Master. Mono Black is one of the strongest EDH colors as it allows us to have tons of mana, great card draw, fantastic tutoring, and ways to interact with our graveyard. Chainer, Dementia Master really benefits from the latter category. For an initial investment of 3 colorless and 2 black mana, Chainer is able to bring back any creature from any graveyard for a small fee. For only 3 black mana and 3 of our life, we're able to bring back any creature and put it under our control on the battlefield. It also becomes a nightmare in addition to its other types. He also gives all nightmares +1/+1. Not only can we steal our opponent's creatures, we can do so in response to them trying to reanimate them, stealing them at instant speed. Unfortunately, Chainer doesn't come without his own downsides, and having to pay 3 life for every time we reanimate will add up pretty quickly. You'll also need to be mindful of spot removal and exile effects, as if Chainer leaves the battlefield, you are forced to exile all nightmares. Chainer Dementia Master offers us a mono-black commander with a strong build-around-me theme. He also allows us to play with our opponent's graveyards as long as they have creatures, almost as if it's our own graveyard. And now, let's look at some cards that'll help Chainer Dementia Master win some games. To start off, let's look at some artifacts. Unfortunately, Chainer Dementia Master costs 5 mana, meaning he won't come down particularly early unless you have an aggressive start. His activated ability also requires you to have 3 black mana, which, considering many of the mana rocks produce colorless mana, can be a bit of a tall order. You should consider running cards like Charcoal Diamond, Cold Steel Heart, and Gilded Lotus to have mana rocks that generate colored mana. I mean, I'm not going to say no to running Soul Ring or Mana Vault if you have access to them, but I would strongly encourage you to make sure you always have access to 3 black mana. The main issue with Chainer is that when he leaves play, you lose all of the nightmares that you've spent all that mana in life to bring back. Thankfully, there are a lot of artifacts that do a really good job of sacrificing creatures at instant speed, which means that we can save them and put them back into our graveyards to be used for later. Some sacrifice outlets that I would strongly recommend including are Phyrexian Altar, since we're able to sacrifice creatures for black mana, which we can then in turn use to bring them back. Trading Post, which is an artifact that has 4 modes. Chances are at least one of these modes will always be relevant to you, so it's great to have this option on your field. There is also Altar of Dementia, which allows us to sacrifice our creatures to either mill our opponents or ourselves and allow us to find better creatures going into our graveyards. Skullclamp can also easily find a home in this deck, as we'll have so many creatures dying, being able to draw 2 for only having to pay 1 to cast and 1 to equip seems like a bit of a no-brainer. Although neither a ramp card nor a sacrifice outlet, Mesmeric Orb is an interesting addition should you want to go Suicide Mill like I would. This one artifact can quickly get out of control should no one be able to answer it, and will easily fill up our graveyard and our opponent's graveyards after just a few untap steps. This is a risky card, however, and I would recommend having some kind of game plan before slamming this onto the table. As Chainer is only able to resurrect creatures, we're probably going to want to run quite a few of them in our decks. Notably, creatures that have some way of giving us life or life gain are going to be a premium for our deck. Disciple of Griselbrand falls under an interesting category as it offers us a sack outlet for 1 colorless mana, and it provides us with a decent amount of life, giving us the toughness of the creature we sacrifice back as life. He could work very well as a backup to Viscera Seer, who allows us to sacrifice creatures for free to scry 1, but doesn't give us any life. Disciple of Bolas is another card I would strongly consider running, as it offers us not only life, but card draw as well. Kokusho the Evening Star is a fantastic EDH staple and a great card to gain us a bunch of life. Sacrificing the legendary dragon to Disciple of Griselbrand can easily gain us upwards of 10 life. Next on my list is a new addition from Kaladesh, and it's Noxious Gearhulk. Probably one of my favorite Gearhulks, I mean after Combustible of course. Noxious Gearhulk provides us with 2 assets by destroying a creature and gaining its life at the same time. Now, I'm sure you've heard of me talk about redundancy in EDH, and frankly, committing all of our eggs into one basket in the form of Chainer Dementia Master as the only way to reanimate creatures is a little bit silly. To help alleviate the stress of always having to pay life, you can also run cards like Demon of Dark Schemes, which allows us to reanimate creatures without paying 3 life. Yes, it requires us to have energy and 3 mana to do it, but its mana cost is 2 colorless and 1 black, and it also provides us with the energy by giving us 1 energy for every time a creature dies. This happens a lot in EDH, so it's not that hard to see a lot of energy add up quickly. Geth, Lord of the Vault can also offer us some interesting synergies with our commander, as it not only allows us to bring back artifacts or creatures from our opponent's graveyard, it also helps us put cards into their graveyards by milling them. There are probably 100 creatures I would strongly consider running in Chainer Dementia Master, but one card I would like to mention is one that I think is a great addition to any black deck. Steel Hellkite offers us answers to troublesome permanents black typically cannot deal with. 6 mana for a creature that comes into play without haste and requires you to hit an opponent before you can use its secondary ability is asking a lot, but thankfully if it's in our graveyard, we're able to cheat it out with Chainer at the end of our opponent's turn before we untap. This gives it pseudo haste, and we're able to hopefully connect with an opponent, allowing us to pay whatever amount of mana we need to deal with those troublesome permanents. For instant spells in the deck, the first card that comes to mind is obviously Entomb. Being able to pay 1 black mana at instant speed to put any card we need into our graveyard is a very powerful spell, easily allowing us to tutor for whatever creature we need to deal with a troublesome board state. Entomb is probably an auto-include in any Chainer deck, and has thankfully come down in price thanks to its reprint in Eternal Masters. You could also consider running a spell that will protect Chainer, like Imp's Mischief, which allows us to redirect a spell at the cost of life. But paying a few points of life is better than having to start over and having lost all those nightmares to exile. Sorceries is where the deck really shines, and with powerful cards like Dread Return, which allows us to reanimate a creature from our graveyard with flashback, is a powerful addition to the deck. I would also recommend running a card that many people recommended in my top 10 black sorceries, Victimize. Allowing us to get 2 creatures for the cost of sacrificing 1 and 3 mana, Victimize does a great job of bringing back creatures for little cost. Be warned, however, these creatures do come into play tapped, but this isn't a huge deal, as oftentimes you'll target ones you can either sacrifice immediately or have an enter the battlefield effect. Life's Finale is a great board wipe and has the added benefit of allowing us to search our opponent's libraries for 3 creatures that we want to put into their bin. This 2-for-1 card will always be welcome in Chainer, and very rarely will you be unhappy with the results. Thankfully for enchantments, black has a ton of options, ranging from card draw to sacrifice outlets, which will allow you to cover any bases you might be missing in Chainer. As the deck requires us to have a ton of sacrifice outlets, since we don't want to lose our nightmares to exile when Chainer leaves the battlefield, a card like Attrition can do double duty by offering us a way to destroy our opponent's creatures and save our nightmares. Vampiric Rites, although only costing 1 black to cast, does cost us a lot to sacrifice a creature. This cost is negated a little bit by giving us 1 life and card draw, however, but I would consider this a third-rate outlet at best for sacrificing our creatures. Even still, it's probably worth considering for your deck, as you want to have as many sacrifice outlets as you possibly can. I would strongly recommend finding space for Animate Dead, Dance of the Dead, and Necromancy in this deck, as they allow us to easily and cheaply reanimate creatures with no life loss. Let's look at some recommendations I have for lands that you might want to run in your deck. High Market is a fantastic EDH land, and thanks to Commander 2015, I almost include it in every single EDH deck I build. It allows us to sacrifice a creature at instant speed, albeit only once per untap, but it also has the added benefit of gaining us a life. These 2 effects are probably 2 of the strongest things that we want for Chainer, so this is an easy inclusion in our deck. Phyrexian Tower is another sacrifice outlet in the form of a land. This time, instead of gaining us 1 life per sacrificing a creature, it gives us 2 black mana. This means that sacrificing one of our nightmares to Phyrexian Tower provides us with 2/3 of the mana to recast it thanks to Chainer. Lastly, I would recommend Volrath's Stronghold. Considering the odds of your opponents cluing in that you're running a graveyard-based deck, chances are you'll run up against some graveyard hate at some point. Volrath's Stronghold will allow us to save 1 creature before exiling our graveyard. It probably won't be the most useful at all times, but you'll always want to have it just in case. Lastly, as I've done with the last few Conquering Your Commanders, I want to look at a combo that can help Chainer Dementia Master close out a game. The way the combo works requires you to have Chainer Dementia Master on the field, Phyrexian Altar on the field, and either have Sengir Autocrat and Blood Artist on the field, or enough mana and having them in your hand or graveyard to bring them back. The combo works because Sengir Autocrat not only comes into play with his own body, but he also generates 3/0/1 black Surf tokens. We then sacrifice these Surf tokens to Phyrexian Altar, which gives us 3 black mana, and then finally sacrifice Sengir Autocrat. This nets us a total of 4 black mana. Assuming you have Blood Artist on the field, you also get to drain an opponent for 4 life. Thanks to Blood Artist and Phyrexian Arena, we've already been able to recoup enough mana to be able to use Chainer's ability to bring back Sengir Autocrat, who in turn generates 3 more black Surf tokens. This can easily allow us to mow down our opponents simply by doing this over and over again and draining them out with Blood Artist. And if you really enjoy this combo, you can always devote more resources to it and include cards like Falconwrath Noble and Abhorrent Overlord to act as extra copies of Blood Artist and Sengir Autocrat respectively. Well gang, that's my take on Chainer Dementia Master. He's an interesting mono-black commander with a strong build around me theme. Have you had a chance to play against the Nightmare Master, or have you built him in the past? Please let me know your experiences in the comments below. Please be sure to tune in every Monday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video, with a second video popping up sometime during the week. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, or check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.